offering my humble salutations at the lotus feet of our beloved Bhagwan. Swami, in his divine discourse back in July 29, 1988 says, "When your love for others grow, you also grow." He further adds, "You should go beyond yourself and your family, right until the end of humanity, and love everyone as the very embodiment of God." It is this divine love that shall help us to be bound together and hence grow together. Dear sisters and brothers, together we are stronger. Together we are unbroken. Together we can do anything. And in this journey, we shall have to let go of our ego, because then only we will never fall apart. Growing together without growing apart to build our nation, to talk, enlighten, and inspire us all on this very topic, we are blessed to have with us today Lieutenant General Dr. Madhuri Kanitkar, Param Vishisht Seva Medal, Ati Vishisht Seva Medal, Vishisht Seva Medal. It is indeed a great moment for all of us to have such a distinguished and decorated soldier, a 3-ranked officer, to address us today. Currently, ma'am serves as a member on the Prime Minister's Science, Technology and Innovation Advisory Council. Lieutenant General Dr. Madhuri Kanitkar. Joining her on the dais, I take this privilege to welcome Lieutenant General Rajeev Kanitkar. After completing high school studies in Sainik School, Satara, Lieutenant General Rajeev Kanitkar joined the National Defense Academy, Khandakwasla, in June 1974. He graduated from the NDA in June 1977 with top merit and joined the Indian Military Academy for Specialized Army Training. Sir served in the Armored Corps of Indian Army and had occasion to serve in various parts of the country, including the Jammu and Kashmir and the Northeast. For his distinguished services at various stages of his career, he was bestowed with several presidential awards, which includes the Param Vishisht Seva Medal, the Ati Vishisht Seva Medal, the Vishisht Seva Medal, and the Sena Medal. Lieutenant General Rajeev Sir retired from the Army in February 2017 as the Quartermaster General of the Indian Army. Brothers and sisters, I think for all the love that Lieutenant General Madhuri and Lieutenant General Rajeev Kanitkar have bestowed on our motherland, our Bharat, we need to give this wonderful couple a standing ovation and welcome them to the dais. Jai Hind, Jai Sai Ram.
Sai Ram. My salutations at the humble lotus feet of Bhagwan Sri Satya Sai Baba. It's indeed an honor and a pleasure for the two of us to be here. He would take on later, but I want to start with a small presentation. But before that, I mean for the last 1 year for the passing out batch, and for the next 1 year for the new batch, there's going to be a lot of leadership talk. But we need to walk the talk. So what we are going to do is, while I share my experience, I'd like to make it interactive. Feel free to put your hand up during the talk or immediately after my first part, and we'd love to make it more interactive because situations can be different. Values do not change. So we're going to go through this journey together. So this is the first slide that I have put up. And if you see towards leadership, does that look familiar? The journey of evolution? You see that truant, little first ape who's there, which was when you all were all in various schools, Baba's schools. Even Baba would have that, smile when there was mischief. And you are bent down with this. And then you started becoming more erect as, and most of you all are somewhere. But if you see, even junior is a team leader. The moment you get into senior classes, you're already a leader because your younger students are watching you. So we forget, we only look upwards. We need to start looking downwards, that there's a huge line below. So when you have come for this workshop, there are going to be a whole lot of people, what's happening? So you all are already leaders, and we're going to go on. But what's interesting is as you go along this, have you seen, that head? And this was my journey from my student days as a cadet in AFMC. Thereafter, when I became the Vice Chancellor, I was bent again. But this time, bent with humility, bent with wisdom, bent with the wisdom of not how much I know, but how much more there is to do and know. So this journey never ends, and that is welcome to this journey of leadership. So what I propose to do is have this outline as a background, and then we are going to go through what I have done for you, the art of reflection. Unless we reflect, it all, you hear something, you have an experience, it finishes there. But the moment you sit down to write a reflection, you start evaluating. A reflection is not what you heard, it is how you felt. What are you going to do with it? And that is important. So at the end of this, I'm sure along this journey you're going to, but those who have finished, please write a reflection of your 1 year that went by. And for the others, start by writing a reflection of what this contact session was about. So we will start, a reflection is what happened. So I will talk about my journey as just as a token of, telling what happened in my life so that it becomes how to change challenges to opportunities. So what? If that happened, so what? How do you feel about it? That's very important. How do you balance the head and the heart? And how do you develop a vision? Because you're all leaders now. And what next? Whenever there is a reflection, you always never stop. There's always that question looming out, what next? So this is what you all are going to do today, and we would go through this journey together. What youth as leaders means for Viksit Bharat, and need I say more? We just heard in the morning when I said that 60% of our population are less than 35 years of age, and that is a punji, a treasure which the world is looking at. So when we say Bharat Mata ki Jai, it's really a Jai. The whole world is looking at us. No one has this youth power. But what is quantity without quality? And you, dear leaders, are going to ensure that quality comes in. We have the largest number of startups and innovations, and from the PM's TAC, I can tell with authority, the unicorns we are now leading. Youth across gender, strata and fields strengthen diversity vital for a multidisciplinary solutions. So it doesn't matter which journey you're walking on. It is the path, it is the rules, it is the tools that you collect along the way that you will find solutions. Problems will always be there. Never try to solve them alone. It's team. So even amongst you all, grow together. Make your teams. Strike your friendships. Because it's the friends who will come to your rescue when you have to find solutions. And when youth like you become leaders, there are a whole lot of young kids in schools, in colleges who are looking up to you. Today, Baba has, I think, given me this thing to stand here and encourage you, stimulate you to think beyond your horizons. It is because this is a duty I'm bound to do. Tomorrow it's going to be you who are going to do this and stimulate the next generation. So therefore, I start with my reflection as to today. You all are all feeling so, and giving so much respect. Did I know I'll reach this far? The answer was no. I mean, when I fought with my parents and said in 1978, when I wanted to join the army after being a CBSE topper, it was no easy task. And my sister here knows that there was a lot of this. My father said, why should the girl go to a military college and join the armed forces? But somewhere that discipline, probably it was the Bal Vikas discipline which was coming in, which was drawing me closer to a larger picture. And that's why. Thank you. Did I ever feel I was at a disadvantage? And I put that because there are a lot of women here. And when I was entering, at that point today, there are lots of women, but we were very few. Firstly, there were only doctors as officers or nursing officers, and even doctors. AFMC also had only 20 girls joining every year. So it was a very small number. But I never looked at myself as a woman. I looked at myself as a soldier. Was I prepared for the challenges? No. Because, like most people have, at that time, when you're young, you just have a vision and no background of the armed forces. It was like like you see in movies, there are parties, there's fun, there's so much. It's a very romanticizing, which felt that this is life. Little did I know what reality was till I woke up to it. Was the journey tough? I'll share a little bit. What was it that kept me going? I have put there that preparing myself for each situation by reinventing, readjusting, and rediscovering myself with new skill sets. And you, dear young leaders, is going to need this skill more than anyone else. Because knowledge today is doubling every 12 hours, and chat, GPT, and AI, like we heard Professor Suma saying, is going to take over everything. So your ability to adapt, adjust, adopt is going to be what's going to make you winners, not just knowing information. Work is worship, duty is devotion was the mantra. And somewhere there were unseen hands of Baba who was nurturing and taking me through this stuff for one day probably the role that I am now in. So what happened? Transforming challenges to opportunities, and this is the journey. In 78 when I joined college, to Jan 2017 when I first became a Major General and then a Lieutenant General. But the question of what next was always there. And I think my biggest challenge and jump was transforming from the organized defense sector to a state health university and transforming that to bring in value systems was my biggest challenge. And now I'm looking for the next. So I think this is what is important that kept me going. And I've just put like very few of them, but we would definitely talk more when you ask. When we were first sent to a field posting and my general officer said, what am I going to do with a lady? And I turned back without a blink of an eyelid and said, so I don't know what you will do, but I know that I'm not going to be staying in the rear. If there's a war, I'm going up front. So, or a post-graduation with a child, a super specialization with a second child. It was not easy. There were a whole lot of issues about loss of seniority after being a topper, but humility and ability to cope with that, to see the bigger picture was what Baba had prepared me for. moving into admin roles. A doctor doing clinical work, suddenly, with files and South Block and corridors wasn't easy. Everything requires reinventing. Choosing to serve in field conditions, even as a Major General. After being Dean at AFMC, when the DG said, I need to move you out, I said, I want to go to Northern Command. And he said, I quote, he said, आपको क्या लग रहा है एक सीनियर ऑफिसर की वाइफ जैसे जाओगी सियाचिन लद्दाख में? And I said, sir, वाइफ जैसे क्यों जाना है? I want to go as a senior officer. So that is where you take on challenges headlong. So I quote Nadia Comaneci, who said, I don't run away from challenges because I'm afraid. I run towards it because the only way to escape fear is to trample it beneath your feet. If you don't know something, jump into it. Jump into it, confidence, and leave the rest to Baba. Once you do it, Satyameva Jayate, if you are taking up for a cause, don't fear. That is my first mantra. And therefore, the second mantra is comfort zone is a perception. We are all a little wary of, getting out of our home turf, of our own environment. But it is how you look at it. You can convert anything into. So that's me on the Siachen Glacier with the troops, when I decided that, yes, and I remember jokingly they said, idhar kabhi mahila ne pav nahi rakhe. And I laughed and said, अच्छा हुआ आज तो रख लिए बहुत सारी आने वाली है. And today girls and boys, brothers and sisters, today there are women posted there. So this is how, you have to make paths so that others can lead on, and that is how our nation is going to grow. The most important mantra I want to tell you all is a fit mind in a fit body. The moment you think correctly, you're following the virtuous path, your mind is getting robust. Today, the world is having problems because of lack of resilience and mental breakdown. But along with that, it's important to have a physically fit this thing. So when yesterday I remember Ratnakarji asked how many get up at 5. If not 5, 6, if not 6, 7. But please spend some time on physical fitness. And I'm sure he would tell you later. 3 years back, he suffered a complete left-sided hemiplegia. It was only a fit mind in a fit body of a soldier that today he walks normally and no one would know unless told. And the next mantra along leadership way, there will be tough times. Look at it with a little bit of humility and humor. There's no harm in laughing at a problem. It helps you solve. When you cry alone. You smile and laugh, everyone smiles with you. So I think it's nice to have some humor. So I will share a couple of them, like the first one when I was to stay in a basha with the same GOC said, no, you move into a city and stay in the officers' mess. I said, no, if my troops are staying in bashas, I will. Bashas are, just little barrack-like things where young officers were this. So I was the only lady on that entire field hospital. But I said, I'm going to stay with them, I'm going to run with them, I'm going to eat with them if I'm going to work with them. So that is the first step that one learned. Or I remember, we have the battle physical efficiency test. The fit body works there. So when we went for the training, they said, नहीं महिलाओं को नहीं दौड़ने से चलेगा. मैंने कहा आपको चलेगा लेकिन महिला दौड़ेगी. And I ran the full BPET. So I think that is how you take things on the thing. And of course, there were some lighter veins about, when reaching corridors of power and there was no separate toilet for the ladies, and I got them to remove the caricature of the male on the thing saying officer's toilet is common gender. But the funniest was even during COVID, what I spoke in the morning, the late General Rawat would, ring up for something, and the operator, assuming he wants to speak, would say, "Saab ghar mein hai." And I said, "Nahi, kyun? Hai? नहीं CDS साहब बात करना चाहते हैं." मैंने कहा वो मुझसे बात करना. नहीं मैडम जी, वो साहब से, जनरल साहब से बात करना. मैं जनरल साहब हूँ. So it was like that. So this is, and you take these things in your stride, you enjoy them, and you move along. So that is something. Find humor, keep your attitude positive, and your blood group, just convert everyone to be positive. That's the way. So, how do you climb up the leadership role? I mean, when you're young, just start thinking of your immediate little team, your immediate little group. Go beyond your working of, interacting with them only for your work. Think about there. Start building teams. So the first major leadership came when I became a professor and head of the department. And I remembered, Mahatma Gandhi saying, be bold to change what you want to see in the world. Be the change you want to see. So that is something which we need to start, that most of us tend to find negative, ye theek nahi hai, wo theek nahi hai. There'll be lots of, 80% of the things will not be theek. But there's 20% which are theek, and the rest of the 80%, maybe you have the potential to make it theek. So think, what can I do which is within my capability? And your canvas becomes bigger. But if you make the habit from being young, whether it's cleaning up your area, we come to Prashanti spick and span, but we go out, everywhere there's dirt and filth. Swachh Bharat, Modi ji won't come to clean up our country. Can we start with our area, our locality, our society, our region? Someone has to take, a leader chooses to be a leader. He's not made a leader. So the next part is start developing a vision. So that was the first time, and I said, what do I see 10 years from now? Was the first time I developed a vision plan. So you all can start even younger. I had to learn it the hard way. You all have been lucky. You all have been chosen to come for this workshop. So to start looking at yourself 10 years from now, 5 years from now, what do I see myself doing? And this is how I made for the department, and we developed it and everything transformed, because then everyone saw the goalpost. As a team member, as a team captain, you're playing a game. It's the captain who tells you, gives you the direction. So start making that and taking your team. People, there'll be lots of followers. You all are born leaders. You all are nurtured as leaders. Get your teams together and you can transform. And this, like I said, the canvas got bigger. When I went bigger, I said, we need subspecialties. So developed an entire thing for the armed forces, and today feeling so happy. This picture, I look like that mother hen because all of them are my students, all DMs in various super specialities. But there had been a vision, a path, and it developed, and the armed forces could develop, and we changed from just a pediatric department to Vatsalya, a center of excellence for mother and child. So good ideas will materialize if you persist. You have to think today. I would like to share with you that even when I was younger, I made a vision diary. I still have it. I was a young major, and I would just put down ideas in it. Ye theek nahi, aise hoga to theek. So whenever I got an opportunity, I was not wasting time. I already had the idea, so I had to implement it. So I think that's one thing that I would like to share. So, and then one fine day, I became a dean of my alma mater. I said, oh my God, that's a big responsibility. And then you start thinking bigger. Now the same thing of thinking of a department of my ward to a department to a thing to it became, how do I change the situation in the college? How to create an ecosystem to learn from mistakes, how to create an environment of curiosity, how to make students resilient, good citizens, where you think beyond yourself. So these workshops like that, we started doing that in college, and I think is start networking, because you need teams. You need, in fact, to transform an institute, you need a core team. So join in places to make a change. And this was some of the ideas where we again put timelines and multidisciplinary, which today is a thriving research unit. And I don't know how, but I landed up being on the PM's TIAC. It was probably these small steps which were noticed along the way that there was a change being made, or whether it was education, that's our Niti Aayog member, where at that point starting a regional center in medical education technology. Today that's become a faculty development academy. And then, as the grey matter started getting more nurtured and cultivated along and the grey started showing up, I remembered this prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can. And mind you, there are very few things I don't have the courage. And wisdom to know the difference. So main thing is, most of us take a step back, but as in leadership, let us learn to take a step forward and say, I can do it. So what if I fail? Let me try. So this was how I spoke in the morning, and in 3 weeks, I remember the Honorable Minister of Defense, Rajnath Singh ji, and was given this task, and we really, I'm sorry, I think there's a little problem there. So therefore, with that, I had been the nurturing of those 39 years of roughing, toughing, going through all that. But it is how, you know, a diamond, if it has to sharpen, it needs to be cut. It needs to have those difficulties. And remember that we are blessed. Baba is there. It's never so hard that you break, but it's hard enough that you bend. So that is the important that we learn. And that is how, with that philosophy of nation first and always, I took on that next challenge of a vice chancellor and decided that today medical profession has started ailing. I said, let me think bigger. And why is it ailing? One of them is that medical education is happening in colleges, health in public hospitals, or for the lucky people who come to hospitals like Baba's Hospital, and research is happening in ICMR and DBT labs. The three don't talk to each other. How can I align medical education, research? And that is how we drew a huge vision document which went on to the public domain, told the governor, told the minister, and started changing. It was not easy. Developing a total change was not easy. And that's when I would like to share a small secret that you don't need to fight it, but you need to learn to be assertive. And at one point, when there was a lot of resistance, I said, I have come here in a Saraswati avatar, but I do have a Durga avatar. For Satyameva Jayate, and I will not take a step back, because even God has said, Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata. So unless we take on challenges headlong, create our teams, and take up small issues to begin with, we are not going to be able to tackle the bigger challenges which is awaiting us. After all, we are custodians of this great nation, and we have to take it forward. So this is how, and the overarching philosophy I said was, let's not talk of health as illness, but let's talk of wellness. And for that, again, my teams comes in, because I is illness, but we is wellness. So it has to be we together. So we put in an incubator, this thing. But more important is the holistic. How will students change unless we don't change? And in that, my husband would speak a little more. But along this entire journey of those 4 years of transformation, I had just one pillar of support besides, and I think Baba gave him the thing, he said, I'm taking no more jobs, I'm going to support you. So he was there, and we transformed a total jungle. When I reached that place, there was no vice chancellor living because we were on the outskirts. And when I said, what are these? There were those Bhoot Bangla old houses. They said, no one lives here because there's only, they call biptya in Marathi for leopards, snakes. They come in the evening. So after 5:36, the university is locked up. Everyone goes back to Nasik city. And I took the decision there and then, which was not easy. It was definitely not easy after being a deputy chief, living in Lutyens, Delhi with the entire Shamdham, and you come and decide on a broken down hut and say, I'm going to live here. But I took that decision, and the only person who supported it was my husband. He said, we're going to do that. Because I said, unless I have boots on the ground, I cannot change. So when the morning I went with the registrar, and that became the mantra of the university. And they said, कि यहाँ madam सिर्फ leopards और snakes आते हैं, you cannot stay here. I said, शेरनी तो इधर ही आएगी. So that became the joke of the university, कि ever since the tigress has moved in, the leopards are keeping away. So I think that was fun. And we made it completely plastic mukta, no plastics, no bottles, no plastic things. Our canteens were plastic free, reuse, reduce, recycle, because mission life is about that. It is life for environment. And if you remember, you know, all you brothers and sisters, they are all Indian values. We are now, it's just gift wrapped by the West. But reuse, reduce is our own mantra. How many are just throw away a toothbrush, even after it's finished, we'll use to clean it. After this thing, the back we'll change to put a nada in. We'll keep reusing, recycling. But we wanted gift wrap by this thing. And you know, motanai, when they say forestry, that's the Japanese word, forest bathing. We've always worshipped trees, rivers, and Baba has told us take care of the nature. So we just practiced that, and today the same campus had developed into a 5 sensory gardens. Wait and enjoy. Where there's a tongue, there's a fruit orchard. Where there's an eye, there are the colorful plants. Where there's ear, there is hearing of the birds. And where there is nose, we have the flower gardens. We also, this was the top picture, which was a huge stone quarry, which lower bottom is how rainwater harvesting is created into a beautiful lake. So you have to be the change you want to see, and we can always do it together. And this is the same campus, how it looks today. And this is the Arogya Manav with herbs, growing exactly herbs for the brain, herbs for the heart, herbs for the lungs, with barcoded, and this is how the Arogya and the Shatachakra Manav looks. And we are developing the Museum of Health for Wellness. So that is the journey which I shared with you, what happened, what next happened. But so what? So what? So that is the food for thought. And I said this morning, be like the flute, hollow, without ego, straight, righteous and honest, simple like a bamboo reed. I think this is important because you all have to develop the qualities of a good leader. And what is a good leader? Culturally rooted, our sanskars, our Indian knowledge systems is now we are trying to promote. But they were always there, and Baba Schools has nurtured it. Look at his vision. Years back, he started investing in education because culturally rooted, contextually relevant. You have to adapt that to what is today required. The value systems remain the same. You have to adapt for the need. Technology abreast. Unless you're going to know about the AI, ML, the large language, LLMs, you have to keep rediscovering yourself. Compassionately generative. That's part of wherever we say, care, loving care, compassion, it's their part of our training. Socially responsible. There's nothing. Science without societal needs is totally sterile. And spiritually guided is the bottom line. So if you see, you already are tick-marked on so many. Why can't you be great leaders? Not good, great leaders. Because you have it all. And that is why you need to combine the left brain and the right brain. On one side, you're acquiring knowledge, science, time, decision-making, attitude, logic. But what is important is in life, you need to practice the art. Language, religion, spirituality, family, art and culture. The systems don't change. The values cannot change. The mother will remain whatever. She can be a huge professional, but she would have to nurture her kids and send them to Bal Vikas class. So we started by doing simple things, celebrating your festivals, making them teams along the way, whether it's introducing a marathon, a TED Talk. So this is how I walked the talk. Absolutely. For the people, caring for the people is so important when you want to bring about a change. And this is something which the armed forces teaches us. Care about the people, the teams that work. I just brought that into the culture of the university. So therefore, for the future leaders, my message to you is, if you've not read the book, you can read the book, Ikigai. It's a lovely book, because you're all going to have different passions, different missions, different professions, different vocations on your chosen path. And all of it is excellent. But at the end, there is an important part, which is what the world needs, what our nation needs. So today, your country needs you. Arise, awaken, take ownership, think of outcomes at every step. If I do this today, this will be there. You have to reflect on that. And therefore, I would say my tip to you is learn to rule with your head, but lead your people with your heart. It's a combination of head and heart. And that brings the joy of serving, which of a doctor, teacher, soldier that I spoke. And I'm really indebted to Bhagwan, to my parents, to my teachers, to my colleagues who nurtured me in every way to reach the top of every ladder of the 3 roles that I've spent. So again, the question of what next? There's never a what next. And in that, I think when I stand here, I have to guide youth. I have to take people along with a new map beyond the Google map. And that is provide mentorship, teach you all to develop your correct attitude and a passion. Never say die passion. That is your map. So together, I think we said this, we chant it every time, Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Bhunaktu. Let us move on this path, the teacher and the taught, let us move together to make this difference. And let us grow together without growing apart, whether it's science and spirituality, whether it's nation building and nation making, whether it's husband and wife, whether it's friends and teams, let us all grow together without growing apart. And I end here because that's the book that we have just penned, and I'll hand over to my husband. And we'd like to take on the next part of it in a more informal chat fashion. Thank you so much, and Jai Hind.
Pranam to Swamiji and giving us the opportunity to come here and be with you for these few moments. I think Madhuri has already elaborated on the many things that she has covered today morning. And what I'm going to do just now for the next 5 or 7 minutes is essentially to just reflect on the book that I have written, and we have covered in that our military journey. That military journey would not have been possible without the many values that we have been discussing since morning today. And that is exactly the 5-7 important things that made us go through this fairly difficult journey with a fair amount of ease also. So let me start that by saying that this book that we have dedicated, both of us, I wrote the main script because I had the time with me while she was serving as the Vice Chancellor. So her contribution was that she said, okay, you write the book, but I'll have the last word, like all the ladies always do. So that's the first principle. The lady must always have the last word. The next thing, having spent now 4 years over here, we have, spent 4 years at the university and now done the second retirement as far as Madhuri is concerned. We have seen the many ups and downs while we transformed this institution from something very, hibernating to something which is lively and vibrant today. So in those 4 years, we have got enough material to write 4 books now. But this time I have told her that we will again partner it. You will write the main script, I will do the postscript. So the basic idea of telling you, this in a kind of a humorous way is to say that everywhere we in the field of leadership must understand that individual brilliance is subject to collective efficiency or excellence. You may be the most brilliant person in the world, but if you cannot be part of a team, you cannot be a good leader. So this is something which must remain with us. And in the armed forces, we start with a very small family. There are many people here. Esteemed senior Jogiji is here, then Captain Sarup is here. We are all from the armed forces. We start with a small family of 15 people when we join the armed forces. A couple of years later, that same family team becomes 100, what we call as a company. A little later, it becomes 500 people. Now that family, my family from 15 has gone to 500. And as we rise in the ranks and we become senior officers, when I became a lieutenant general, I was Before becoming the Quartermaster General, I was a strike corps commander, which is supposed to make plans for offensive actions across the border when the time comes. And that time, I had almost 1 lakh people under me with their families. So look at the vast kind of arena that becomes for us. From a small family of 15, it becomes a family of 1 lakh plus. And we have to take care and take everybody along for the whole war machine to function properly. If it is not, then that leader is not a good leader. If he's not taken care of his large family, that war machine will not function properly. So therefore, what I was trying to put across was that you start small, the family becomes bigger and bigger. Even when you grow up, your small family is not the only thing that you should care about. There are many families around you. Give a thought to them. And as you put everything together, you'll find that your efficiency goes notches far higher than what you could have thought of. As far as this journey of ours is concerned, we had many ups and downs during our time. So the other thing that you have to do to be able to go along together is to be able to step back for each other. Everybody of you has a family. In the armed forces, the same way we had to grow, we were in two different fields. And on many occasions, we found that we had to step back for each other for the other person to go ahead. For example, after doing a very professional course, I was supposed to go for a good appointment. And at that point of time, suddenly, while she was doing her post-graduation, her father got posted out from Mumbai. And then she told me, look, now I will have to give up my post-graduation. So at that point of time, I told her, doesn't matter. I will put an adverse career certificate and ask for a compassionate posting so that I can be with her. And I took a back seat so that she could progress in her postgraduate studies. Similarly, later, what happened was that she did not do a super specialization for many years because she had to look after the children. Then a time came when it was going to be a last chance for taking up a super specialization. And I said, okay, now you have looked after the children for so many years, let me make a small attempt to look after a small daughter who was there. So I said, okay, you take up your postgraduate studies. And she did, and I moved to another place with my daughter, but I didn't know what I was going in for. Within 2 months, while she was doing her super specialist studies, I had to send an SOS to my parents. I said, I can't look after this little one. So please help me out. And sure enough, parents are always parents. They dropped everything in Pune where they were staying. I was somewhere in Hisar at that time. They came up and stayed with me for the next year plus, so that they could help me to raise my daughter for the time that she was absent. So it is these kinds of things where you have to help out each other. And within this ambit of activity, you'll find that it is not restricted only to your family who can help you. It is also your friends and also your organization. So at critical times, our organization helped us to be together. At other times, our friends and family helped us out. So if you want to go along, you must ensure that your relations with your family, with your friends, and with your organization is in such developed in such a way that they will help you at the critical times. At other times, you have to help yourself. So these are some of the issues that I thought I would put across. Rest of the issues, if there are any queries, we will try and answer them. Jay.
we'd like to now have a little interactive this thing. And but I'll just tell why he called, the title of the book was this, because 36 years both of us were in uniform, but as married. After that he retired, and of the 36 years, 24 years we were apart. 12 years is all we got in bits and pieces of being posted together. The rest of the time, his requirement was more at the borders with tanks, mine was more in hospitals, so we could never manage to really get to. And there were times I was pulling out my hair and saying that I want to quit. And he would remind me of the resolve of wearing the uniform. And that's when once he wrote to me to say, let us grow together without growing apart, each on his own path. Yeah. So we have another 10 minutes, I think. So I thought we should have the youngsters. 5 minutes.
Hello, check. Seeking the permission of our beloved Sai Mother to speak. Loving Sai Ram to all the dignitaries present here. Sai Ram ma'am and sir for giving me the opportunity. So coming to the leadership umbrella, right? So whenever we are working with bunch of people around us, we'll have a lot on our plate, as in lot of responsibilities and stuff. You often fail in few or pass in few. You do a few good, right? And when you fail in certain things, you feel a bit distressed and you feel a bit crestfallen and stuff like that. When you're interacting with other people during this phase, when you're crestfallen, how to hold that distress and you not showing that to the people, right? So maybe it in the expression or when speaking to them, how to speak softly or sweetly, and how to make them feel warming when we are talking to them. I personally faced this many times. So
I get your point where it's extremely difficult, but I think again there, the duality of this occurs, and you must have noticed even in these little seconds that I'm the fiery one and he's the quiet one. So bank on someone like that. So you have to have a combination of what is said in English, of ice on your head and sugar on your tongue. It's easy. It's not easy to practice, but that's where internalizing and detaching from the main issue, because we get very involved that it is my failure, it is my inability, instead of saying that what is it that caused it. So that is an art you need to cultivate, that when you look at it that I have done my best, but things didn't work out. What is it that your energy channelizes into it? And I'll give you an example of this. The same thing happened. People said, you've done so much in the university, you finished your tenure. Aren't you feeling bad? Piche se kya hoga? I said, see, I was the custodian for 4 years. I don't own that university. So I have done my best. It is everyone else's. I'm sure they would have even better ideas. Now the whole thing changes. Instead of feeling ki piche kya hoga, you change your attitude. So you train yourself like that.
Sairam, ma'am, you said that you had juggled many hats during your many phases of your career. And I also saw somewhere on your slide where you said that pregnancy is a pause. And so my question to you is, how did you handle all of it with dignity and grace? And also, how did you make yourself content with the idea that, okay, at this point of time, this hat that I'm wearing will get precedence over the other hat that I'm supposed to wear. Maybe it's of a daughter, maybe it's that of a sister, maybe it's that of a mother. So how did you handle all of that with the poise and dignity and grace that I can see that you already have?
I think that's a very, very good question, and it's the question that most girls, because whatever happens, things are changing, but the basic thing of nurture, the ability to nurture, the ability to this thing, and the responsibility of the child does remain primarily with the woman. But why that pause word was used, because the rule at that time was that There were rules where you couldn't do courses, you couldn't do this, so I had to take steps. But when I reached a senior position, I got it changed, saying this is physiology and you can't make it low category. The girls will do post-graduation even if they are pregnant. So that's one thing. So you can change when it comes. But when you're going through trying to do, there are two things which are very important. One is not be less than perfect. You know, you tend to want to have everything to perfection. But at that point, you have to be kind to yourself also. So be less than perfect. The second thing is, when you're really torn apart, I'll tell you a small tip I used to just say, Sairam, which is the thing which matters most now? Okay, it is that I can have to bunk that to be able to do this because my child will never forgive me for this. I'll do it and make up for the thing later. So your conscience always knows which is the most important. So prioritizing at every point to do the most important and put a few things on the back burner helps you do that. And the third thing is the jadoo that you have. The Devis always have so many hands. Multitasking is our basic strength. Use it to the hilt.
Thank you, ma'am, and thank you, sir, for a rousing, motivational, and deeply enlightening talk. Listening to your inspiring journey, your steadfast dedication to service of our motherland, and your immaculate leadership messages, the sense of patriotism is rekindled in all the youth present here today, and truly, there could be no better role model for them. Ma'am and sir not only brought out what an exemplary leader looks like, but also beautifully brought out how to lead an ideal life as a couple, perfectly balancing their life together and jointly serving the country. Let us all give both the panelists a big round of applause. Ma'am and sir, on behalf of everyone present here today, we would now like to extend a small token of our deep love and gratitude. And I invite the following dignitaries to come on stage to do the honors. Ms. Neeta Khanna, National Coordinator, Spiritual Wing, Shri Satya Sai Seva Organizations. Ms. Shashi Bala, National Coordinator, Service Wing, Shri Satya Sai Seva Organizations. Dr. U. Suma, Chairperson, Shri Satya Sai Studies, Shri Satya Sai Institute of Higher Learning. The All India President, Shri Satya Sai Seva Organizations, Shri Nimish Pandya ji. And the National Service Coordinator, Shri Koteshwar Rao ji.